Welcome, fans, to another edition of the Cheap Heat Productions podcast. My name is Jack Kilby, no gimmicks guy on the socials. And today we have a very, very special guest, a man who is truly an innovator when it comes to tag team wrestling during, the golden period of tag team wrestling. A multi-territory champion. We're gonna discuss some of his extensive territorial career and what he has going on right now. I am talking about the legendary, fantastic Bobby Fulton. Bobby, thanks so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much for allowing me to come on. I want to preface this by telling people I have a hard time speaking because I had throat cancer. So the problem is not in the computer. I speak with a rare and unique accent, so please bear with us this next hour because I'm excited about being on your program. Thank you, Jack, for inviting me.
Well, I really appreciate it, and I know that you don't do a lot of podcasts, and this is a particular treat for me because not only am I a fan of your work, but also, the great tag team wrestling in the past. I guess it's a good place to start by asking about the Fantastics when you and Tommy Rogers formed the Fantastics in Bill Watts Mid-South in about 1984 and made an immediate splash on the scene. Can you just talk about how that team was put together? Because I know you had an extensive career before that too.
Right. Well, Tommy, at the time, I was wrestling in San Antonio, Texas for Joe Blanchard. Tommy was wrestling in Atlanta, Georgia for Jim Burnett, Ole Anderson. But the Rock and Roll Express was in Mid-South Wrestling. And Jerry Jarrett had said, we want the Rock and Roll Express back to Memphis. Give them to us. So Bill Watts said, I'll give them back to you for 90 days, and then I want them back for me. So what happened was, Bill needed a tag team filler, him and Bill Dundee and Bill Watts, for the 90-day period. So Bill Dundee told me, Bill Watts told Tommy, and put it together as the Fantastics. And the Fantastics was off of the Fabulous Ones because Terry Taylor and I were the Fantastic Ones for a short-lived run prior to that. So we bought Tommy bought Terry Taylor stuff, and they put us together as a team, only there for 90 days. Then I was going to go my way, Tommy was going to go his way. But it ended up clicking so well and getting over that we decided to stay together after that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and over you guys were, and I use the word innovator and pioneer in terms of the high-flying, exciting, athletic tag team wrestling style that really was the hallmark of the division in the 80s. How did you guys develop your style, your innovative style? Did you just gel and come up with that, or how did that happen?
Well, Tommy and I really gelled as a tag team. And one of the reasons why we did, we never thought ourselves as single wrestlers once we became the Fantastics. I thought every spot that we did, I thought it up as a tag team. And nothing was ever done without that tag team intricacy being used. Because I didn't want to be known as Bobby Fulton just for the Fantastics, or Tommy Rogers just for the Fantastics. I wanted it to be the Fantastics, Tommy Rogers and Bobby Fulton. And with that being said, if you watch the matches, almost everything we did was led up for a tag team match. Today, you see a lot of single guys that are not interested in tag team matches. And it shows in their matches because they're worried about getting themselves over and not the team over. Tommy and I wanted to get the tag team over. I hope that explained that to you about that.
Yeah, and later on, I want to ask you about your thoughts on modern wrestling in terms of tag teams, and we'll explore that a little more. But you definitely hit a point there. A lot of folks have stories and their experience about working for Bill Watts, the Cowboy. Some good, some bad. Overall, what would you say your experience was working for Bill?
Well, I want to say that this is February the 15th, 2026, right?
Yes, sir.
Me and Bill Watts text each other 2-3 times a week. I just got a text from him yesterday. Bill Watts ran a tight ship, and he didn't mince words. And what was so good about the territory was he was able to take people that didn't have authority. And I was one, and Tommy Rogers was one, and so many other guys were more or less rebels in the wrestling business. But Bill was able to harness that and be able, him and Bill Dundee, and be able to produce some of the best wrestling at the time that was in the world. And as a matter of fact, it stands up today. If you put it into current product, it stands up today. I've been told that in the performance center, they use a lot of the fantastic tag team matches to show them about tag team. Now, why they don't do that, I don't know. But I think because, for the most part, guys think themselves as singles, going back to this again, and don't think themselves as a tag team. So, with that being said, in Bill Watts territory, we work 9 times a week in 9 different cities. Driving most of the time, flying some of the time. We were on the road continuously. The matches were tough every night. I mean, 20, 30-minute matches every night of the week. And whether it be Midnight Express, later the Sheepbirders, with Jack Victory, John Tatum, later on with UWF, it didn't matter. We went out there to work hard in front of 300 people and
Oh, we lost Bobby. I'm sure he'll click back in a second. Yeah, it's interesting that he spoke right off the hop about tag team wrestling, because that's one of the questions that I have in terms of, do you ever see tag team wrestling coming back on a national scale, a national level, like it was in the 80s and some of the 90s? He was just speaking there about how much of a draw tag team wrestling was. Here's Bobby back again.
Thanks, sorry about that. My
No
wife
worries.
didn't help me. I lost it, but I didn't say. We wrestled hard every night. We worked in the territories, which now they fly, so many different places. And plus the thing of it was, Jack, we wrestled in towns up to once a week, twice, or once every 2 weeks. It wasn't like we were Ringling Brothers running the Bailey Circus coming to a town once a year or 2 or 3 times a year. We had to entertain them fans either once a week or once every 2 weeks for the most part, which is a lot different than what they do today. I'm not taking nothing away from the guys today. They're great athletes, mind you. But I just personally, and I know I'm jumping ahead of the game, but I love the era of wrestling I was in. I wouldn't change it for a thing. The only thing I miss is that big money they're making now. It is what it is. I mean, when I look back and know that back in the 80s, we would make $3,000 a week. That's a lot of money today. Those players told me that in 1949 in Ohio, he was making $1,400 a week in 1949 in Ohio. So money's always been there for wrestling, but I wish, well, no, I don't wish. I'm glad I was in the era I was. From 1977 is when I broke in to present day. I'm still helping promote, but I'm glad I wrestled that I did. I've been some of the greatest tag teams in wrestling as well, you know.
Mhm. Absolutely. And one of those that jumps off the page right away was your feud, your program, your never-ending program with the Midnight Express, and in Mid-South, it was the Bobby Eaton and Dennis Condrey version, of course, managed by Jim Cornette. We got a lot of fan interest about your experiences with Jim Cornette, but that rivalry, and we'll talk about it under Jim Crockett when it became Stan Lane. That was you want to talk about classic tag team wrestling rivalries. That was one of them. What made the chemistry between the Fantastics and the Express so electric right from the start?
Well, we were all great workers, number one. Do you understand what I said?
Yes, sir.
We had to have talent as individuals, put together teams. Bobby Eaton was one of the best to ever lace up a pair of boots. Tommy Rogers was phenomenal. Some of the best drop kicks in the business. Tommy Rogers was really great. Dennis Condrey was superior in the ring. A lot of people, I don't think, give Dennis Condrey the credit that he has. But he had the experience in that team back then to help elevate Bobby and Jimmy at that time, because Jimmy, I've known Jimmy before he was in the business. I mean, he was taking pictures, but I predicted his future in the wrestling business one day in a tour ride with him and his mother. But with that being said, Dennis really helped Jimmy and Bobby. I think everybody was honest about it, because Dennis had been there so long and worked with different teams and had the experience to put it on. And everything Dennis did looked solid. Looked like it ripped your head off. But honestly, it was like a baby touching you when he touched you. And that's how our wrestling was back then, because we were working 9 times a week in 9 different cities. We couldn't go out there and beat each other half to death. We had to do it the Otis way, where it made it look like we were killing each other. In reality, we were not, because we were on a ring with 4 sides. So therefore, I think that we were some of the greatest, and I don't like to use the word actors, but performers. I'll use workers, because we were working in the ring, and therefore some of the best in the world. You know what I'm saying? And our matches got over because of the heat factor Jimmy Cornette had. And at that time, we had to follow the Rock and Roll Express, which I'll never forget. At first, in Houston, Texas, there were signs, bring back the rock and roll, bring back the rock and roll. And then as time went on, I noticed them signs, and I'm not saying that to you, Ricky and Robert. They're my best friends, brothers of mine in business. I've known them since the 70s. But their signs were coming down, our signs were going up. And it wasn't that we were there to replace them. It was that we were there to do another job. We weren't there to take anybody's place. We were there to make our own place. And that's what I thought we did, as far as that goes. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir. And that was similar to the dynamic later on in Jim Crockett promotions, when the Fantastics came in on the heels of the Rock and Roll Express. But when Mid-South morphed into the UWF, and you won the UWF World Tag Team title from the Sheepherders, and then traded them with a young Eddie Gilbert, and Sting. There was some real classic stuff there too. How did you find the shift in the company from Mid-South to UWF, given the fact that UWF was being positioned to be more of a national deal, and was it difficult when Crockett bought them out to let go of the Mid-South mystique?
I wasn't there when Crockett bought them out. I was in World Class Wrestling, I think. But what happened was, the difference from Mid-South and UWF was what you said, expanded borders. Because when we became UWF, there were times when I was living in Alexandria, Louisiana, where a lot of boys lived at. We would have 700 miles drives in one night to get home. So instead of doing Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, and Oklahoma, we were now doing Texas, different places like that, just expanding the borders. And the one thing about it was, Tim Mantell had became the booker from World Class. That's how Tommy and I got there, because Tim worked with us in World Class. We were there with the Von Erichs, and he knew how to utilize us to draw money and get over. And so we gladly went back during with the UWF. But the only difference was Bill Watts was at the head of it. It just expanded borders. And you notice the black on my fingers. I've been making signs today for a March the 14th show. So people say Bobby Fulton's got dirty hands. I'm a hard-working man.
Absolutely. That hasn't changed. You mentioned World Class in '84, debuted beating the Midnight Express, and then you won the North American tag team titles against the Long Riders. So a big splash. How did the scene there and the Von Erich dynamic compare to Mid-South? I guess it was uber hot at that time, and it must have been really exciting for those huge crowds.
What happened was, Tommy Rogers and I was finishing up in Louisiana, and I say Louisiana, that was Mid-South territory. And Bill Watts said, Eddie Graham wants you guys in Florida, but Fritz Von Erich wants you guys in Texas. So I knew Tommy was from Florida, but I also knew Louisiana and Texas logistically wasn't that far of a move. So we ended up going down, working a starter feud for Eddie Graham because they wanted us in that territory. And I told them we're going to go to Dallas because it's an easier move. So Tommy and I went to Dallas, and I heard this from Bill Irwin himself. Tell me this just a couple of years ago. So we went up to the ring in Fort Worth, and the crowd was indoors big time. We'd never been there before. And it wasn't like today where we have social media and stuff like that. They may have seen us in a wrestling magazine or something like that, but, we didn't have worldwide social media. So when we jumped in the ring, I'm about 5'9", Tommy was 5'8", whatever, 200 pounds, and across the rings of Long Riders. Scott Hove Irvin, 6'5", 6'6", 300 pounds. His brother Wild Bill Irvin, 6'5", 300 pounds. Bill Irvin told me, my brother looked at me and said, we're going to make these guys superstars tonight. And I'm getting cold chills when I tell you this. But that night was the first night in, and we beat them for the belt on that Fort Worth television. And the crowd went nuts over us. And Bill Irvin and Scott Hove Irvin helped to get us over and set the stage for us to draw money there in World Class Wrestling. And they were phenomenal professionals. They didn't have to do that because a lot of times back then, guys would see us and go, they're too small. But in reality, if a guy was smart, like Trevor Khrushchev, or even the big fat Ernie Ladd, who wrestled him, they went off their feet, and it's the David and Goliath story. You know, the small person against the giant, and people get into that. But I credit the Irvin brothers, the late Scott Hove Irvin and Bob Bill Irvin for establishing us there for World Wrestling on that championship sports television program there in Fort Worth, Texas, in the World Wrestling Territory.
Mm-hmm. Fan question came in about your experience working with Fritz and any of your experiences with the Von Erich boys.
Well, the Von Erich boys were some of the nicest people you'd ever want to meet. I mean, I remember Kevin, David. I had met David one time in St. Louis when I was working there, but by the time we got to Texas, David had passed away. So there was Kevin, Sherry, and Mike was the youngest. He hadn't been the first time there. He's not in the wrestling business. And there was Chris, little Chris, but they were like big kids. It was funny to be around them. They were characters. They were always shutting up, acting the fool, and everything like that. I really liked the Von Erich boys. And with Fritz, we never had it. There was other promoters we had disagreements with, but we never had one disagreement with Fritz Von Erich. He was always fair with us, always treated us nice. One time, Tommy Rogers cussed during a promo and said something foul, you know, like, we're going to beat the H out of them or something, right? And Fritz Von Erich went to him and said, Tommy, please don't speak with that on TV. To me, being nice, young guys like you are, it'd be like meeting a beauty queen and her passing gas in front of you. No, not like that. On television, Tommy said, of course, that was great advice, you know, because it wasn't who we were. Somebody else might be able to get by with that, but not the fantastic. You know what I'm saying? We were kind of choppy, arrogant type, baby faces. I believe it was kind of like that. And fun-loving. We got that from the Memphis territory. Jackie Fargo, we would do funny spots. Grumpo Lubitsch told me in Dallas, I've never seen a tag team like this in the matches you have. We even have the people happy. You would have them crying. You would have them sad. You would have them mad. He said, you guys are able to take them through every emotion during one of your matches. And that's very important to be able to reach the people in that capacity, which is not done today whatsoever. To me, anyway. Mm-hmm. They don't know how. And won't listen to anybody if you tell them how. You know?
Yes. Your big early moments, one of them in world class was, well, there were a few. You were in the second Memorial Parade of Champions with a huge stadium show that was, and also working in the Sportatorium. How did you find those venues? I hear a lot about both the crowd, you know, during you were there in the prime of world class. They were packed to the rafters in Texas Stadium. Then, of course, a lot of people talk about the Sportatorium in those conditions.
Yeah, I love when Tommy Rogers and I first drove up to the Sportatorium. We went, oh my goodness, is this the world famous Sportatorium? Because it was a tin building, you know, a building. When you heard about world famous Sportatorium, you thought of some beautiful Coliseum. It was completely opposite of that. But like you said, it was packed to the rafters. The fans was great. And what was weird about it was it part of it burnt down at one time. So the ring was there, and there was three sides, and the other side it really didn't have people because they found out when the building burnt that it was built on somebody else's property. So then when they rebuilt it back, they couldn't build it back to its full capacity. And on that same ring was harder than any highway you've ever driven on. That platform of that ring. That's why it doesn't make much noise. Because it was really a stage in which Elvis Presley played on when he was young, a stage on which Willie Nelson and all of them, as a matter of fact, Ed Watt was a local town promoter there in Mobile. And he showed me the actual contract Elvis Presley signed for $25 way back then to play there at the Sportatorium. So the Sportatorium had a lot of history behind it, and it was magical to be a part of the wrestling there.
And yeah, what a company World Class was with the innovative television, and worldwide. Yeah, the camera angles, worldwide success. A fan is asking though, do you have any favorite behind the scenes anecdotes about World Class at the time, given all the energy and excitement around the company?
Well, when you say antidote, make yourself clear, because I think of antidote as a medicine to heal something. So tell me, you mean you want some kind of behind the scenes
backstage story or whatnot?
Well, there was truckloads of them, in a way. It was just magical. I mean, you hear about the French fries and they drained the grease and the possum was in it. Well, one night when I was wrestling, there was an ice storm, and always we had 5, 6, 7,000 people every Friday night in Dallas. But this night there was an ice storm, and we told David Manning and said, we're not driving from Irving, Texas to Dallas with his ice. So he came and got us. So I was wrestling a single match with Kelly Venezia, and there was only probably about 2,000 there that night. And I took Kelly Venezia over the side headlock, and all of a sudden a little cat, CAT, jumped in the ring and started running all around the ring during our match. And the people were laughing and it ran off, but they said that in that Sportatorium there was rats, RATSs, bigger than cats in that building. So, but that means I was in the bedroom before, and there was a rat running up a pole, up a water line. But I mean, you just got to think about it. A big old building, and rats have to live somewhere, But
yes.
but with that being said, there was a lot of things happening there in Dallas. People don't realize it. We were worldwide before there was worldwide wrestling. That's why we ended up going to Israel. We went to Massachusetts. Bill Hazelwood, I know him.
Yes, sir.
But they were. Thank you, Bill, for saying that. That's really nice. But people don't realize that world class was really world class before anybody else was around the world. We were even big in Japan before we got there because of world class. We had Japanese magazines come to Dallas and take us out and take pictures of it to put in the Japanese magazines because of world class wrestling. So it was great opportunity at the time.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. A fan live question is asking, any interest in writing a book and funny Jim Cornette story? Boy, that must be hard to narrow down.
A lot of people don't realize this. Spiritually, me and Jimmy Cornette couldn't be further apart. Also, politically, Jimmy and I couldn't be further apart. But Jimmy and I, Cornette, love each other. We love each other like brothers. And we tell each other we love each other even to this day. And people say, well, how in the world can you love Jimmy? I said, and Jimmy love you. I said, we never talk about those things. We have a common bond of friendship that has been going on since 1982. I knew his mother and I loved Thelma with all my heart. She was a special woman. Jimmy and I are like the proverbial twin sons from different mothers. We both love the wrestling business. We just went to Notre Dame and looked at the Jack Pepper stuff a few months ago together with Tom Burt and Chris McMahon. And Chris McMahon, not Vince McMahon. I'm going to make that clear. But we went there and looked at all the Jack Pepper paraphernalia. We love the wrestling business. We eat, drink, and sleep it. And with that being said, I'll tell you one story about Jim Cornette. Jimmy had wore fans about pants. And I don't know if people know what they are or not, but them green and red, them pants were like plastic, really made of plastic. So Jimmy was in the bathroom stall kid. And I happened to have a newspaper and I lit it on fire. And I threw it up under the stall. And I didn't know his pants would melt on him when the flames hit it, right? So Jimmy came out screaming and his pant leg was on fire. So he took his pants off. So when he did, I said, Tommy, I'm going to take your pants out the ring tonight. Tommy said, please, Bobby, don't do that. I think we're in Washington, D.C. I said, no, I'm going to take these pants out. So I carried the pants out to the ring, this and that. Jimmy, I'm in the ring with his pants, showing his pants. And Jimmy said, Bobby Fulton, I've always known you wanted to get my pants. And so Tommy was mad at me because Jimmy burned us about like the time in Louisville when the circus was in town and it had great big shovel for shoveling trap up and stuff like that. Well, during the match, I carried the shovel out to the ring in Louisville Gardens. And when we got to the ring, Tommy said, please, Bobby, don't take that shovel to the ring, please don't. I took it anyway. And Jimmy got in the ring and said, hey, I noticed you got your partner in the building tonight and you got that shovel to clean up after him. Like, he was, and Tommy was embarrassed and people laughed and Jimmy went up to again. You can never have an argument with Jim Cornette and win. I don't care who you are. I do not care who you are. It's not going to happen. You might think, but he is the wittiest man, witty, W-I-T-T-I-E-S-T, that I've ever met in my life. And I love him. My wife can tell you. Jimmy and I talk occasionally, not all the time, because his podcast has him working like 10, 15 hours a day because he covers so much stuff. And not to mention all of his mail orders and stuff that he takes care of. Sorry about that spit. I do spit sometimes, folks, because just the way it worked out with the cancer. I'm like a Baptist preacher spitting all over you, but that's why I keep wiping my mouth. But what I just going to say was that I lost my train of thought now. Hold on, I'll get it back. Huh? Yeah, but I lost it totally. She reminded me of Jimmy Cornette. I was talking about, but I lost my train of thought there. But
he works so much.
He works so much today that whenever I do I try to stop and see him. And I begged him to come to my shows. He just don't really want to come out no more. And one of the reasons why is when we went up to Indiana, different problems. He said, this is why I don't want to leave home. and it's all right. But I think the world is important that we had a lot of fun over the years and a lot of good time and helped each other make a lot of money. You know.
Yeah, what a foil he was for the Fantastics. You, according to my research, went to Jim Crockett Promotions in about '88. I actually remember catching you live a couple of times, and the feud with the Midnight Express with Sweet Stan reignited. How did you come to work for Crockett at that stage of your career?
Well, we were in Dallas with it, and Jim Cornette and him ran out of opponents in North Carolina for the Tropics. I never really wanted to go there. So Jimmy told Dusty to call and bring us in so we could work against the Midnight Express because Jimmy had some political pull in the office and he wanted to keep this Midnight Express alive and well, which is business, you know. So with that being said, J.J. Dillon called us and said, hey guys, and we were kind of wanting to leave Dallas anyway because it wasn't looking good. The first time we went there, it was on fire. The second time we went there, because of the deaths and stuff like that, it just wrestling had a bad taste in the people's mouth. We were movie stars the first time we went. The next time, it was a whole other story. You know, it just left a bad taste in people's mouth. But so our first match was in Norfolk, Virginia. We went to this Midnight Express and beat them with their own move. It was a non-title match. Years later, Jeffrey Rhodes came to me and said, Bobby, I made one mistake. I should have put them belts on you guys the very first night you came in. But hindsight's 20/20, you know, because that's what they would do. That's what the Urban Brothers did. And it just helps you, elevate you, and get you over more established. But we had that match with them, and the people couldn't believe how good the match was. And it got over big time, I think maybe. And people don't understand this. We didn't wrestle 5 and 7 minutes. Almost every match was 30 minutes. Almost every match was 30 minutes. And if you watch the match, it was like a chess game. It wasn't just a bunch of stuff thrown together and somebody jumping off a ladder over here, jumping out of the balcony over there. Everything led up to something else. And that's the way a wrestling match should be. It should be like a fireworks show. You start off with a little firework, then a little bigger firework, then a little bigger firework, until it's finally at the end, boom, 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 boom. And that's the way a wrestling show should be constructed as well. But now, modern wrestling is through that all out the door, and I don't understand why. But that's how we got over there in the Carolinas, even after following the Rock and Roll Express, which, like I said, we wanted our own spot. We didn't want their spot. And they kind of, and because now we were first in Dallas, and Jim Cornette will tell you, and like Bill Hazelwood said, it was like the Beatles, the 1964 Beatles, or whatever year they came to the United States. We couldn't even hardly get to the ring. Our clothes would be torn off, our wrestling stuff, this and that, fighting the straps and so on, which was great. We loved it, mind you. And then we did something that the Fabulous Ones have done, and some guys in Tennessee we went around the ring, which a lot of fans in the big arenas never got a chance to talk to the wrestlers, let alone give them a high five, handshake, or hug and a kiss. So it even helped us. I'll never forget. In a major arena, you could watch a music play, and you could see people running from the top down to get around the ring. And it would be like that, which was great. We loved every minute of it. Tommy Rogers and I were both wrestling fans. Although I grew up in Ohio, Tommy grew up in Florida, with Eddie Graham wrestling, Bobby Shane on them. We were both wrestling fans as kids. Tommy didn't think back then to being a wrestler, but ever since I was 5 years old, 6 years old, that's all I ever wanted to do was be a professional wrestler. I mean, I would sit at my kitchen table and write wrestling swords up, imaginary. I would be like this wrestling at the table, or even in school, and my brother would say, my brother George Jackie, who was Jackie Fulton, who was the Eagle, would say, you're over there wrestling during class, and you should be learning. And I was in my mind. And I realize now that if you can think it, then you can conceive it. And then I read something the other day, if your mind can think it, you can hold it in your hand. I've been blessed to be able to live a dream of a 5, 6, 7-year-old boy, to be able to come out of Philadelphia, Ohio, travel in lots of different places, and get a chance to live my dream and be a professional wrestler. I know I got off the subject, but I just want to say that it's important. But then a lot of people don't realize this. In Charlotte, in NWA, there's one magazine about that time on the cover of a Bill Apter mag that said, the fans after say we will not share our fans with the Rock and Roll Express. The Rock and Roll Express had come back into the territory, and Dusty was wanting to turn us heel against them.
Yeah.
But the Rock and Roll Express, one of them quit, one of them got fired, and that didn't happen. So then we went into a program with the Sheepers, which we really didn't touch on, but now we had 37 straight nights of barbed wire cage matches with the Sheepers in Louisiana for UWF wrestling. And those guys who later became the Bushwhackers were phenomenal as the Sheepers, bloodthirsty animals, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to flip back real quick to being a heel. I wanted to be a heel. I was a heel for the first part of my wrestling career, but I got my arm broken in a riot. And then when I got to Memphis as a single, I had lost weight, trimmed up, and they wanted me to be a babyface. But I am 2 times the heel better than I am a babyface. Mm. But on the other hand, Tommy Rogers never wanted to be a heel. I wanted to do that because I loved it. But and they were going to put us with Paul Jones. Like I said, and nobody, now I don't think anybody really knows this, but like I said, the Rock and Roll, one of them quit, and I think one of them got fired, or something happened, and they left the territory, but we were getting ready to turn heel against them. And then when that didn't happen, they put us in the program with the Sheepers, which they were going to do it just like UWF. Sheepers ended up going up north to the WWF and becoming the Bushwhackers. That's why on one of those matches after the champions, we wrestled Eddie Gilbert and Ron Simmons, almost a 30-minute match between 2 babyface teams and a tag team tournament in which we won the United States Tag Team Championship belts. But that match, actually, Jack, is one of my favorite matches. And the reason why it was a babyface match in the United States and the people was into the match the whole time. I heard Jim Ross on Club Thompson saying one time, watch that match, and say they lost the people, they lost the people. No, we didn't lose the people. We kept them intrigued. In a match, you don't have to have the people jumping up like popcorn the whole match. But you can be watching, and then you can jump up. If anybody will go back and watch that match, Ron Simmons, who was green back then, slow as an ox, a great guy. Eddie Gilbert, a phenomenal wrestler, but he was a babyface. And that night, I had a temperature of about 103. I didn't really feel like working. I remember driving to Chattanooga. It was a dog. And what happened was, we know we were going to go 30 minutes. Nobody told us to go home. And I don't know if they were having problems in the back or what. Yeah, the referee said, go home. But I remember hearing 28 minutes gone. If we didn't get the signal to go home, we would have apparently. If you watch that match, it was almost a time limit. But I love that match. I mean, I love the Midnight Express, Sheepherders, and one team you didn't mention, Jack Victory and John Tatum, but mentioned Hyatt and UWF was another team we had great matches with. Somebody said something the other day to my son Dylan, that the Fantastics have great matches with any team. No matter their size or who they were or what they were, we were able to have great matches and adapt to anybody. And I'm not saying that to shoot our own horn. I'm just saying the facts, you know.
Mm. Yeah, I don't think that's debatable. You had so many great moments in Crockett, you know, right from the start when they started, which was unusual at the time for Crockett, doing those in the NWA. Tag team action is fantastic. There are tag teams and then they're tag. So big build up. You won the United States title several times. You're on the first Clash of the Champions. Had so many great matches. One question I wanted to ask you in particular was talk about great cards. You were on the Jim Crockett Senior Memorial Cup in terms of you know, having going quite far. I guess you beat the Fabulous Ones, Arn and Tully, and then you had I guess it was a double DQ with the Sheepherders reaching the semifinals. What was that great event like from your perspective?
That first traffic cup in New Orleans in the Superdome, if you think about it, that was the first really worldwide event that took place, where people were from different territories and different wrestling companies. It wasn't just one local territory with a couple of guys from another territory, but you had Giant Bob, a Tiger Mask. Like you said, you had the Arn and Tully. You had the Midnight Express, you had the Fabulous Ones, you had the Fantastic, you had the Sheepherders, you had Ronnie Garvin, you had Manny Fernandez. I could go on and on and on. But I will tell you one thing. That on the first night of the Traffic Cup, there were 2 nights. A guy named George, I can't remember his last name now, was a fan from New York. And he said, I seen you rubbing in the back. And he said, I thought because, you know, we weren't worldwide back then. It was regional territories. And he was used to watching WWF. Back then, that was big guys and slow moving. And he said, I seen you in the back, rubbing around, watching the match. And I thought, what in the world can that guy do? I'm really let down. And he said, you guys proceeded. And I've had many people tell me this, Jack, and I'm not exaggerating, that the Sheepherders and the Bushwhackers stole that show at the first Traffic Cup. By the time we went through those other teams to help make us in that last match that was in the semifinals, and like I said, the Road Warriors was in it, Madam PA, great top teams from all over the world was in that. And we got to the semifinals, as you said, and that's often an overlooked fact. But a lot of people said that our match with Butch and Luke, with Lady Maxine on the outside and Jack Victory, showed the show there at that particular event. And you can correct me if I'm wrong or anybody can. I'm telling you what the boys said. And usually, if the boys say something, they don't really want to say that. And fans and this and that. You just have to, what people have to do, Jack, if nobody can watch you this stuff yourself and draw your own conclusion. I'm not egotistical. I'm proud of what we've done. I'm thankful to God that He blessed us with it and the opportunities because this business is very political. And politics rule the day 90% of the time. And we've had it where the opposites have not been behind us, but we got over anyway, much to their chagrin. And that's one thing that Vince has proven that he does not like McMahon, because when Daniel Bryan got over, he put a kibosh to that. Vince liked the idea that he made you, not that you made yourself. But if you gave the fantastic just a little bit of a push, we'll get over there, one way or another.
Well, yeah, you proved that in multiple territories. Fan question, I bet you get this one quite a bit. Just for your own preference, did you prefer working version 1 of the Midnight Express, Condrey and Eaton, or Sweet Stan and Eaton? Did you have a preference there? And I know you worked the Heavenly Bodies in Smoky Mountain, which was kind of the next version of it. Out of those 3 teams, who would you say?
Well, when I tell you this, you have to realize this, that although Dennis and Bobby and Stan and Bobby were 2 different teams, they both brought special things to the ring. I don't know if you understand that or not. I enjoyed both of them immensely because Stan added an element to the team that was a little bit different, but Dennis did too. So for me to pick which one of those 2 that I enjoyed working with the best is a toss-up. Give me either one, any night. They were both pleasures to work with. Sweet Stan, Beautiful Bobby, Loverboy Dennis, and Beautiful Bobby were phenomenal. I enjoyed working with my brother, with Sweet Stan and Tom Pritchard, at the Heavenly Bodies later on. But the 2 Midnight Express, Bobby and Stan was great. Bobby and Dennis was great with that one special occasion. Bobby. Hey, let me ask you this, Jack. Imagine, and I mean, I don't know how people do this today, with people jumping off a ladder, but imagine being slammed in the middle of a ring and watching a guy go up to the top, and he weighs about 200 pounds, and he's going to jump off that top rope with his big butt flying in the air to drop a laser across the throat. And when he drops that laser across your throat, he's so good at what he did, you can barely feel it. That is.
Oh, I guess Bobby had a little technical issue. He'll be back. I think he was putting over Bobby Eaton doing the Alabama Jam and not injuring anybody at all. That was something that was a testament to his working ability. Everybody talked about how he was such a skilled high flyer and yet light as a feather as well. So that's, oh, here's Bobby back again. Here we are. Oh.
All right.
There you go. You were talking about Bobby coming off with the jam.
Yes. And to watch him, what great faith that you have to be able to just lay there and hope that he don't land his big butt on your face and break your nose and land perfectly every time and hit his mark. He was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
But Ricky Morton brought up a point a long time ago that people don't realize. Back in the 80s, 70s and 80s, everybody on the card should work and were very talented. The first match should be a main event if he got the push. I mean, everybody was that great back then.
Yeah, speaking of great, I was just working a show December the 4th where Ricky was with Kerry and worked a tremendous tag match. Still, man, the dude is absolutely phenomenal, incredible. Got a live fan question asking about did the Fantastics ever look at the WWF? Was there ever any interest in working for Vince?
No, I'm gonna tell you something. I'm a professional wrestling tourist. I don't like what Vince McMahon did. There's a picture of me meeting Vince McMahon in Japan, and I'm sitting down, shaking his hand. And I just got done with a match, but my son asked me and said, a lot of people said you disrespected Vince McMahon. I didn't disrespect him. I didn't like what he done in the wrestling business. Whether people say, well, it was going to happen anyway, I don't like what he's done with it. I don't like what he did with it. And I just never want to be a part of it. I don't like the idea of putting the veil completely down. I think people, when they go see Santa Claus, my wife writes me a note, she tells me not to talk so much, but I can't help it. 50-something came up. What are you saying? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember. She's, I love my wife. What I was going to say was, I never wanted to work for Vince, but I worked for his dad when I was 18 years old and doing jobs on Allentown and Hamburg Television. And then Jimmy asked me one time, said, Bobby, we're trying to get a cruiserweight, smaller guys up here, but Vince will not listen to us. Would you come and wrestle Tommy one time on Raw and show him? I said, yes, I'll come one time, but one time only, Jimmy, because I don't want to work up there. Plus, I had another business I was doing myself, making enough money that I didn't care about being up there. But I never, and shame on me for not wanting that money. But I just didn't, I like the southern style of wrestling better than I like that style up there in the Northeast. And not only that, I just didn't like what Vince did to the business. I didn't like it.
Well, good for you for sticking to your morals. You know, we've talked here. What a great trip down memory lane. I became a fan based on my love for tag team wrestling, and I don't think it's the same without tag team wrestling. I personally believe they're missing out on that. But do you ever, being one of the great tag teams of all time in the golden era of tag team wrestling, do you ever foresee tag team wrestling returning to prominence where they would main event shows, where fans would buy tickets to see tag team wrestling? Do you ever see that happening again in either of the two big companies?
Well, let me put it to you this way. I understand nowadays they have writers, right? Writers, WRITERS. What do they know about the wrestling business? What do they even care about the wrestling business? They feel like this. We'll just write anything, and because the people don't have much of a choice, they got to eat what we feed them one way or another. If they choose not to do it, then they won't watch wrestling. So we can just maintain we want. And they don't put an emphasis on it. It's like I told you before, this business is politics. And with politics, somebody's making the decisions. And if the decision makers, it's up to them about the tag teams. And then when tag teams, like you said, it's so exciting to have 4 guys in there wrestling, better than a singles match in a lot of ways, because there's so many different things you can do in that tag team match. And another thing they're missing the boat on, there's no good guy and bad guy anymore. It's all shaded gray. I've never watched one movie in my life where I didn't know who the good guy and the bad guy was. I just don't see him. But as far as tag teams, tell Triple H. But now think about this. You're talking about something that happened 40 years ago. 40. I keep forgetting we're in 2026 because I'm thinking I haven't really watched wrestling since the 2000s. That's 26 years ago. I mean, I'll see it here and there occasionally, but most of the time I can't stand to watch it. I'll watch a match for a little bit, and I'll say, oh my, it's not that they're not good, but it's just so much missing. It's like watching a baseball game, and the guy hits a grounder, and instead of running to first base, he runs to third. It's like completely backwards of how it was mapped out to be. And I will tell you this, I'm not racist, but there's such a heavy Mexican influence in American wrestling today. They hit the ropes like the Mexicans did in the 50s flat back. And I asked them at the performance center, why do they do that? And they said, well, that's just an argument we don't want to talk about. In different styles. Look, Rey Mysterio is a phenomenal athlete and great in the ring. Some of them guys, but deep down inside, America fans have always wanted to see a knockdown, drag-out fist fight, blood flying every which way, and that's what drew money. That's why you see so many matches with me having pieces of tape and band-aids on my head, because that's what we did, blood and guts. And they don't get that anymore either. The guys will jump up the top of the arena and land on the guy, and the guy chips out at 2.5. He gets beat with a small package later on in the match. It doesn't make sense to me. And I like them all, and I respect them all, and I'm thankful for the money they make, but I don't understand why they're doing what they're doing, but, let them do it, right?
I guess so. That's what they keep saying about how successful the business is. But there's a lot of old school fans like myself that also can't stomach a lot of, at least on the national level. We'll talk about independent wrestling in a minute with your big show coming up. But before we get to that and where the fans can find you on social media, keep up with all the good stuff that you're doing, reflecting on your legacy, Bobby, the Fantastics have a permanent spot in the books, the history books, for being influencing tag team wrestling, high flying, just so many territories that you made your mark in, you main evented, you drew money. And this might be a difficult question, but if you had to boil it down, what is your most proud career accomplishment, sir? Oh, I think he froze. Well, I'm sure he'll be back in a second. Just wanted to get his final thoughts on his career in terms of, and we've just scratched the surface here in an hour. So much to be proud of. What his top accomplishment is in his eye. That's always an interesting question, especially with someone from the territorial era that did so much. And again, we've just scratched the surface here on his career, and it'll be interesting to see what he comes up with. I will throw this up while we're waiting, though. Bobby wanted me to mention that we're close to a big-time wrestling show, World Classic Professional Wrestling, March Mayhem, Saturday, March the 14th, 2026. It is, I'm trying to see, it's in Ohio, and look at all the legends that are there. Barbarian, Lawler, Mickey James, DDP, Stan Hansen, Warlord, Mr. Kennedy. It looks like Wolfie D and Jamie Dundee. I'm just going off here. Axe, Rhino, Marty Jannetty, the Boogie Woogie Man, Butch, and Shane Douglas, just to name a few. I'm sure he'll give us more information on that, where the tickets are available. It says tickets are available at WCPBTWTIX.com. And Hornswoggle's there too, and it looks like Butterbean. So that's a loaded event. Hopefully Bobby will be back to give us some more information on this show. And while I have you as well, I have to talk about, of course, Flex Wrestling Frozen Fight Night. That is happening February 28th, 2026 at the Mud Creek Bison Ranch. You're going to see Sean Carr, the first Flex heavyweight champion, defend his title against Shale Connors in a ladder match, and a very big tag team match. The Good Brothers of Gallows and Anderson will be facing the High Seas, one of the standout, if not the standout, tag team in the Northeast of America. This is going to be a huge event. Today it was announced that the tickets for the seats, they're gone, and it will be general admission, but make sure you don't miss out. Go to flexwrestling.com and get those tickets as Flex keeps rolling on. And then I think I have Bobby back. Just 1 second. Bobby is not connecting, unfortunately. We'll give him a second there. Hopefully that'll pop into the screen. I have to talk about the next stop on the Flex Wrestling schedule. Carlito will be March 21st at the big show coming to Ithaca, New York. Oh, Bobby's back. Bobby, we're back. Now I can't hear you. Now we have no audio again, unfortunately. Yep. The mic is showing muted. Maybe just switch the mic out again, sir. Hello? No, still muted. Darn. We'll give you a second to work that out. I was just showing the fans the big show coming up on March 14th, 2026. All the stars for big time wrestling. March Mayhem went through it all, and where the tickets are available right there. We'll put the link in the description for this show. It looks like it's going to be a real killer experience. I'd actually love to go to that. I see Precious Falls there too, and the Powers of Pain, man. And that's the Beverly Brothers making a rare appearance at a show. Oh,
what about PG-13?
I got you now. I can hear you.
What about PG-13? You don't see them out and around.
No, not at all. Not at all. This is an absolutely loaded event.
And then look down between Stan Hansen and Diamond Dallas Page, who it is. Who is that?
That looks like John Laurinaitis.
You don't see him around either, do you?
Absolutely not. That's got to be one of his first appearances.
The very first. This show right here, we have people coming from Greece, Germany, Canada, all over the world. It's coming to Philadelphia, Ohio for Saturday, March the 14th. On Friday, March the 13th, we're having a dinner with a lot of people and everything. This is going to be a fan fest, a super show. One of the main event matches is Enzo, 2 what ifs in the WWE. Enzo versus Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Anderson.
Wow.
Also, we have Heath and Rhino against the Powers of Pain, managed by Precious Flower Elderman.
Wow.
We're putting the Road Warriors and going into the Howard Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, along with Joe Malentos and some other people, Mr. Hughes. But this is a show of shows. I'm not just saying it, Jack. I'm celebrating my 49th year as a wrestling promoter. 49 years. My son and I, Dylan Hines, and this is a super show. You can tell we have something for everybody. Bush Viper Loop, French Drive Train Douglas. We have Racing Bull Manny Fernandez. We have stars from the all over the different times. Like you said, the Beverly Brothers don't do a lot.
No.
And also from Japan, we have look who's in the corner from Japan.
Wow, that is an absolutely.
Who is that? What's it say? What's the name say?
Who is up at the top? I see Axe
No,
there.
no. Right above Jerry Lawler, the math guy. The math guy.
Yeah.
What's the name?
Oh man, I can't make it out. Sorry, my eyes aren't what they used to be.
The Great Society.
The Great Society.
Wow. He's coming from Japan. He'll be there from Japan, coming for this one show, Saturday, March the 13th, in Philadelphia, Ohio. Tickets are available at wcpbgw6cix.com. Diamond Dollar Faves. We got Butterbean there. Stan Hampton is going to be there in the area. This show is off the charts, Jack. I'm telling you what. It's unbelievable. Mickey James, Jerry the King Lawler. And there's a lot more that's not on the poster, but we ran out of room.
Well, I would encourage fans to get those tickets and get them early because there's no bull there. That is, except for the Raging Bull, that is an absolutely stacked show. And we'll put the link for the show in the description of this video. Before I let you go, Bobby, and I really appreciate your time. We'll get your social medias after this last question. I was in a big long spiel there, and then you froze. But I wanted to ask you, you've had such a legendary career. What would you consider, and this can be a very difficult question to boil down, but what would you, if you had to, what would you consider your biggest accomplishment or what you're most proud of?
Well, that's a loaded question, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
I just, there's so many, when people ask me my favorite match, there's so many that's my favorite match. I was blessed to be able to go to Japan, work for John Baba, go to Australia, Israel and Russell, Canada. I worked for Stu Hurt and them when Bret Hurt was just starting out. In the 1980s, I was up there. It's hard. Look, my best has not happened yet. My best, 49 years promoting wrestling. My first show was in 1977 that I promoted a show at 17 years old. My best has not happened, but I've had a lot of breaks. But I'm still waiting, and Jack come back and ask me in a couple of years, what is that pinnacle? And I'll be able to tell you, and I'm going to say this. I'm thankful for Christy, my wife, who helped me because I couldn't get on here if it was up to me, and she helped me a couple of times. It knocked us off. You know, they say that if a man can walk on the moon, but if that's the case, why did this computer keep shutting off? If a man can walk on the moon, why was it shutting off and everything? And I want to say this. I really appreciate you reaching out. I don't do this very often. I know now that there'll be a lot of people calling, but the reason why is I have a hard time talking. And I speak with a very neat accent, and sometimes people have a hard time understanding me. No, I'm not drinking. No, I'm not on drugs. I've had throat cancer. I can show you here my scars from my radiation treatments and everything on my neck and this and that. But I'm alive. I praise God. I've got a wonderful life. I'm living a great life. We've got a big show coming up. In fact, if you get a chance, come check out one of our shows. Listen, we like people coming live because it's old school. A heel walk from one direction, a baby face from the other, like the Old West. And it has that old school feel to it. And there's a heel and a baby face, and the crowd moves, we never have chance of like inside merch stuff at our shows. It's just people loving wrestling for the product it is. And I think that's what's happened today, is they're not able to enjoy it as just good old-fashioned professional wrestling. They're told everything is going to happen. They know it before it happens. And there's nothing to surprise. Listen, I'm going to show you this. If I go to if it's Christmas, and I go to a mall and see Santa Claus, I want Santa Claus to be fat in a red suit with a white beard. I don't want to see some skinny guy with blue jeans on and a black leather jacket. And that's what they've done to professional wrestling. They stripped it of what people was attracted to. So the people now today don't know what's really, really good. Go back and watch it. Go back and watch it.
Well, Bobby, I want to thank you and your wife for her technical support, but for doing. Thank you very much for doing this. It really was a big thrill for me. Big fan of your work, and I agree 100% with your perspective on the business. And fans, we'll put the link in the description for this amazing show. Check it out and support independent wrestling. Bobby, once again, best of luck in the future. We'll keep in touch, and hopefully you will do this again. But thank you very much for coming on the Cheap Heat Productions podcast.
Hold it, Jack. Jack, you didn't wish me good luck in my future endeavors, did you? You didn't just fire me, did you?
No.
I just want to make sure. Sure.
Best of luck. Best of luck.
Yeah. Thank you. And you as well. And I hope that people enjoyed this. And please let Jack know if you did or not. And I appreciate it. Thank you for the time. And I appreciate my wife. Like I said, we would be holding a candle, and I'd been in the dark talking to you on a telephone, and it wouldn't have been as good. But thank you so much. I love all the fans, and thank you, Jack.
It was tremendous. Once again, fans, make sure you like and subscribe to Cheap Heat Productions. You'll see more of this old school, territorial focused professional wrestling content, such as the legendary Bobby Fulton. Until next time, I'm Jack Kilby, and I'll see you at the matches. Thank you for watching this video. Please give it a like if you enjoyed it. Be sure to follow us on all social media platforms at Cheap Heat Productions. Don't forget to hit the notification button, and you won't miss any of our upcoming interviews, recurring programs, or entertainment.